All right, welcome guys. Here's the interview with Of Virtue. I have Tyler, Damon, and Ryan on board. Welcome guys.
Hey, what's
How's it
up?
going?
How you guys doing today?
Oh, today is a day. It's a busy day. Thankfully, it's not too cold out. I know we were just talking about that a little bit, but the sun's shining. Spring is a couple weeks away. So honestly, that's probably the best news anybody can hear right now.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, the warmer weather is definitely brings more shows, or at least more outdoor shows and that type of stuff too. So I'm excited about that. Guess I'm gonna d dive right in here. So your guys' first album, like Heart Sounds, do you guys ever play anything live off of that, or no?
No, not at all.
What about Salvation?
Nope.
So yeah,
No, the funny thing about it, we actually get asked about those quite a bit, but the irony would be that of the three people that are on this phone call, only I was a part of those. So it's like there's just a different version of the band. Um, they're still important records. Like, you know, they without them we wouldn't be where we're at. But it's also one of those
yeah,
where, you know, we love the music that we're playing now. We love the direction that it's going in. We have a completely different fan base because of it. So, maybe at some point in time, like, we may revisit maybe playing a track or two once we, get a little bit further down the line. But at the same time, too, we're also kind of focused on you know, where we're at with everything, like all the new stuff. We got new songs we're writing, and you know, kind of want to see where that goes before we start hitting the nostalgia train.
yeah. I mean, kind of like Omen. Do you guys feel like you hit like your style with that album, and probably the first those first two albums isn't that, and that's kind of why you guys kind of want to be moving forward, something like that.
Um, yes and no. I would say like the first two, it's just different times, different
Yeah.
people. We had a different lead singer, different drummer. We had a bass player then, and I think naturally as people, what are you fucking laughing at?
Sorry, we had a bass player then.
We did. We don't. Oh yeah.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
but the way
Yeah.
you just threw that in there.
All right. Hey, news to people. We don't have a bass player. If you see two guitars and no bass, don't get freaked out. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Just
we do. It's the MacBook,
yeah,
the
Matt.
good old
I
MacBook.
still hey, you know what? Actually, that's a lie. I'm the bass player. I still play the bass. You're just hearing a recording of me playing it. So
There you go.
there it is. It's still done by a human. But
Every time.
yes, all that
So
being said, just different people, different styles.
yeah,
When you bring in new people, it's going to just give you a new sense of direction and new ideas, and you know where we are at because of the old era and the new era. So
yeah, yeah. Um, is there any like specific song or two? Because a lot of bands, I feel like when you open a set, you want to open with like a banger, a ripper, or something to get the crowd excited. Is there a couple songs that you guys like traditionally open with?
Yeah, we've on the last couple of tours, we've been opening with a song. One of our favorite songs is a band called Cut Me Open. We kind of have that same mentality where it's like when we come out, we want to hit pretty much as hard as we can off the hop just to wake everybody up and do our jobs, let everybody have some fun, blow off some steam. And Cut Me Open we find does that really well because you've got these like rock elements, elements, and then a really, really heavy breakdown that ties it all together. So you're kind of getting a good taste of what the overall set's going to be just from like that one song that we start with.
Yeah, I feel that Cut Me Open is probably my favorite song on Omens. I like how it's like raw, but also like pretty. Like it blends very well together. And I can see why you got why you open with that. Like it's aggressive but beautiful at the same time, and definitely really good blending. But I think that's what you guys do best is you mix in um really heavy stuff, but also have a nice melody to like balance it out. So it's not just, I don't know, 3.5 minutes of guttural vocals, you know?
yeah, we're not necessarily that kind of band, but all respect to the ones that do. We like some of that kind
Yeah.
of stuff, but You
Yeah.
know, at the end of the day, it's kind of what we all grew up on. It's a mixture of having like, catchy choruses that you can sing along to. Mike and I joke around where it's like, you're making riffs and you kind of envision, going out to, Pine Knob and having someone paying $23 for a beer and then spilling it on somebody else when, they get ran into by a circle pit. Like that's kind of where our heads are at, where it's like, as big as we can possibly dream and, see what we can make out of it. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So how has the collaboration with Conquer Divide, the Bad Dreams, how's that like since it's been released? What's the reception been with that?
Um, I mean, really great. Like it's one of those things too where when we originally got asked to do the feature and well, more so the collab to be a part of that song. Um, it's been something that we've wanted to do for a long time. Just because like we are both from Michigan, and they're a great band. Their drummer actually is from Canada as well, so we kind of have something a little bit in common. And I know Ryan and Sam, their drummer, have been internet friends for a while. So it's like it was just like the perfect thing to come to fruition and to see how it's been doing. I mean, we're getting pretty close to 1 million streams on that, which is really awesome. And I mean, even for the first like couple weeks, just seeing a lot of different listeners come through, a lot of people that probably didn't know who we were. And then vice versa, a lot of people that didn't know who Conquer Divide were. We both saw like an uptick in, just in a lot more interactions with people that probably didn't know who we both were. So that's like the best thing about the collabs, right? Is to get that crossover of fans. And
Yeah.
we're fans of Conquer Divide. They said they're fans of us, and maybe we can do some shows together sometime.
Yeah, I mean they're incredible. And if you guys ever do get to check out, they make a video of like mean tweets that people said, and it's absolutely hilarious. Like I was cracking up just their reaction to them and stuff. So that was really funny. But that's cool to see. And maybe if you guys are in the area still on the 10th that you make an appearance at Rock Lansing, who knows? So
Yeah, maybe.
maybe, Um, but so you tell me is there like a story behind like cold-blooded, or is it like in a general sense?
Cold-blooded, there's a little bit of a story. The most basic thing about it is um I like wrestling and it was kind of our take on like during COVID, like we were um talking to some people over at NXT about potentially doing some stuff. And, there was like, hey, make something cool, pitch it to us, and we'll kind of see where we can go from there. Unfortunately, there weren't any legs beyond that, but at least at the same time, like we got a really cool song out of it. Especially for us at that time, it was very different. It doesn't really sound like anything else that we've done even to this day. And it's just, one of those where you imagine yourself walking out to just some badass entrance music, like you're gonna go kick some ass. And what's kind of cool about that song too is like live, it was a weird one at first because it's like it's kind of this like mid-tempo rock, kind of weird, creepy. It doesn't have a breakdown, but it has a really good release. But it is one of those songs that like we sound check with it every day, and it's you can tell where we can tell where we're at with the crowd based on that song alone. And it's like it kind of gets you, it hypnotizes you in this way. And once you're locked in, you're headbanging, you're having some fun. It's 3 minutes of a good time. And beyond that, it was kind of a happy accident. So, nothing crazy about it, but
Yeah.
try to make a wrestling song. I think we're gonna try to do a couple more, but we'll see. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean it seems like a lot of you guys' music, you have a lot of vulnerability, and you guys talk about like I would say difficult subjects that people aren't always so comfortable talking about. Um, and is that kind of like when you guys started all making music together, was that something that you guys wanted to kind of be real?
I think the goal of any artist at some point is to show their true and authentic selves. Um, and again, going back to the beginning stages of the band, whether it's Heart Sounds or Salvation, it's like our old singer, he was very true to himself. He was very honest in his lyricism. That's kind of set the foundation for what, you know, anybody would do moving forward. And then kind of the same thing with where we're at with, what defines you or Omen, and especially Omen, it's like, again, not to harp too much on the COVID stuff, but, you know, we didn't think we were going to be a band. And at that point, it's like, we learned some things from the last record. And at the same time, we had people also saying, like, hey, we know who you guys are by talking to you and this, that, and the third. Sometimes it doesn't translate as much in the music. So as deep as you can go, like even if it gets uncomfortable, that's going to be the point where, you can really truly connect with people.
Mhm.
And like you said, some of the topics are a little bit harder. Some of the things it's like, maybe I didn't want, the rest of my guys to know about XYZ or they have some similar stories, but it's like everything's going to come to light at some point, and it kind of just felt like, hey, this is where it's at. And if you can't be uncomfortable around like your best friends or people that you care about, then who can you be, right? And
Yeah,
the
true.
audience members, they do, they hear that, we gravitate to records where, people are unabashedly themselves or truthful in a way that it almost sometimes can, hurt to a degree. But that's some of the best art, that's some of the best music, and we want to follow in those footsteps and provide that same catharsis to other people that might be searching for it in a, world full of awesome, great music for many different reasons. Sometimes you have music that you can just shut your brain off to. You don't have to think. It just makes you feel good. Other
Mhm.
times it's like, you want to go out and club, you want to party, you want to do all this. It's like, but then you're gonna have the music that kind of really makes you think, or you're in a dark place and you need something to kind of guide you out of it. That's where we come in. So,
I guess I'm curious. I'd like to go around and just like for each of you guys, what are like three albums that really had impact on your like music career, like growing up?
mm. One of the other two, I'll let you guys go first if you want.
Sure. I'm just gonna kind of rip this off the top of my head because I haven't thought about it too much, but
Do you remember
I would say
Battle Omens?
I was gonna say you called it. The Death of Peace of Mind by Bad
Oh my
Omens.
God.
Number one. Gotta be from when it came out. Cause like when that album came out was like me being in the band for what I think like a year, maybe. So like I was pretty
Not even.
not even a year. I think Artificial Suicide came out when I was like there for my first show with you guys. And I
Yeah.
remember hearing this. And like this is me being, a 20, I was 24 at the time. I was only listening to like the truest of true, not even the truest of true, the boy bandiest of the boy bandiest metalcore bands I could find. And that's all I listened to, like, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing, I love it. I still listen to that all the time. But then Death of Peace of Mind came out. And then it was just like a shift in my brain that was like, okay, not every song needs to have a breakdown. Not every song needs to have a guitar. Not every song needs to have real drums on them, and they can still be fantastic songs. So I would say for like my quote unquote professional career, that would probably be one of like the biggest examples of an album to me that were like, okay, you don't have to follow this metalcore formula in order to be a version of yourself you want to be. You know what I mean? Like we have been very happy introducing a lot of these, like I was saying, like these pop elements in songs like Cut Me Open, and spoiler alert, in the new stuff, you're gonna hear some more of it. So I think you'll be pleased. For two other albums, I'm gonna cycle through while I think about my next one. So Tyler, you take this one, and then I'll think about my next one.
All right. So for me, my top three will have to be Page Avenue
It's a
by Story of the Year.
great choice.
That's probably one of like, I mean, they're the reason why my brother got into music. So I, by proxy, because I was, in my room. He was playing guitar every single day, story of the year, literally nothing else, playing the same song over and over again. So, yeah, it's hands down like one of my favorite bands. And then another one would have to be "To Plant a Seed" by We Came as Romans, fellow Michiganders as well. But I mean, they're truthfully the reason why I even started thinking about screaming, like because I hated metal. I even just like heavy music. I thought it was I could not understand it. I was like, what is this? I can't even hear the words. And then I think I got a little bit older, listened to music. We and then like Icy Stars, We Came as Romans, like just because they were from Michigan, so I listened to them a lot. And then I just got into it, and um, yeah, just like one of hands down like one of my favorite albums, and like I really love that band, and I think I'm really happy to see that they're still doing like really really good. And then last one I would have to say "Phobia" by Breaking Benjamin. um yeah, they are my favorite band of all time. Story of the year and them both very very hand in hand. But like that was probably the heaviest I listened to back then was Breaking Benjamin. So yeah, it's funny seeing where I'm at now, because now I'm like I love that stuff, but like get me heavier.
Yeah.
Sure. I got my last two. One of them's not even a metalcore record, which is surprising, but it is 1X by 3 Days Grace. When I was, I don't even remember how old I was, but that's when I first started playing drums. And I think Animal I Have Become was one of the first songs I ever attempted to learn. And that record to me is like a front to back record. I never skip anything on it. And then secondly, a metalcore record. Dead Weight by Wage War was one of my favorite records. I listen to that thing all the time still.
Good choice.
Yeah.
So random.
Good.
Yeah.
Uh, Mine, they kind of fluctuate, but I would say like the rotating five, or at least up to three of the five. I combine two of these because they're basically one record for me. But Hybrid Theory, Meteora, that's basically it's two records, but I just put them into one because anytime that I go to listen Linkin Park in my phone, it just will playlist itself, and I will play all of them in a row, and it's perfect. Like there's no skips, there's no like, and just hearing like a bit like I'd never heard a band like that ever.
No.
And it just and even to this day, like with all like they've influenced the whole, however many countless types of bands that do the two singer thing, that do the rock rap thing, whatever it is, but they just don't nobody comes close to it, at least that era, like that specific style that people, copy so much. Um Another one. This will be on the more metalcore side, but it's again, I'm gonna kind of just squash three records together because that's kind of how I view it. Of Malice and the Magnum Heart, Mirrors, and Controller from Misery Signals. All three games, like literally my favorite metalcore band of all time. Like it's not a lot of people know about them, but this band would not exist if they hadn't come into my life whenever they did. It's like again, hearing something that you have these two rhythm slash lead guitar players bouncing off of one another. Just it was also they were the first band that put so much melody in, and the vocals were just hard. They don't really sing. They sing a little bit, not too much. But the storytelling, the lyricism, the depth, like we're talking about vulnerability, like it just kind of it came at a time where I was like, this band could do absolutely no wrong. Um, And then another one, honestly, is Vesu from a band called Thrice.
Yeah.
Like Thrice, again, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Great
Just
album.
Dustin Kensrue is a fucking god amongst men when it comes to singing. Again, lyricism, depth, just what they do and how they present themselves throughout the years. Like that record, though, in particular, because that was still like I was in my, listening to like As I Lay Dying and Kill Switch and Bury Your Dead and It Dies Today, Chimera, like the metal stuff. And it's like I still listened to, some of like we'll call it like screamo for the case, Like Tyler, Story of the Year, that's top 5 favorite albums of all time. The Used, like I still listen to that stuff, but that they were like the band that like started turning me on to like I don't want to call it like smarter music, but it definitely was like, oh, they're listening to like Radiohead and like a lot of these like more indie and kind of like think think tank style bands, and I was like, that's where I started getting into some of that realm, and that kind of influenced the guitar playing as well, like using effects, different meters, different melodies, all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of good music, man. Hopefully,
Yeah,
we're gonna get Ryan to catch up too and stop listening to the same 3
I
bands.
listed good albums.
No,
like
you don't.
I would say that the three most impactful albums for me were probably the Nirvana Unplugged. I mean that's just fantastic. Ozzy Osbourne Osmosis and Queensryche Empire.
Nice.
They're most known for Empire and probably Operation Mindcrime, but I'm a big prog rock fan. I like Deep Thought. I love Rush. I mean, I have curly hair, weird dude, so it just fits in. But like it because before like I was really getting into like metal and hard rock. Um, I was listening to like Chili Peppers and Green Day and Butthole Surfers and that type of stuff, and then I got Osmosis, and I was like, oh shit, what is this? And that just took me down the rabbit hole of Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Metallica, and all those bands and stuff like that, and probably because I'm a little older than you guys, so but the band and I would say Seven Dust's Home album was
Yep.
hugely impactful. To be so hard but also so melodic with John's voice is just powerful, and I that's an album that from start to finish that like I don't skip a song, like it's good from the whole way. So but yeah, that's kind of
Album from Target.
but it's cool. It's cool to hear just like who you guys are influenced by, and sometimes it's like somebody you wouldn't think, and I think that's really cool. I because they have this. I've been to the Rock Wall of Fame, and they have this thing, where like famous bands will say who they're influenced by, and it's always neat to see that and just be like, oh, okay, that's cool. You wouldn't think that, um, but I saw some of the stuff you guys sent over that you guys have been in like 35 plus countries. Can
Yeah.
uh can
Yep.
you name those 35? Could you name that many?
No. Yeah. Honestly, we probably could. I mean,
But yeah, if
Like
we sat and thought about it, we could.
what's
Macedonia,
let me ask
Greece.
you that. Let me ask you this. What's some of the coolest like venues or cities you've played in that you're just like, wow, this is like really cool?
um, I would say of just cool places, like going to Japan was sick. We've played in Iceland, and there's to this day, like even when we talk to other bands, they're like, how the hell did you get there? And it's like super expensive, but super awesome. Like, we've played in Turkey. We just went to Australia for the first time last year. Um, just like those kind of places where it's like, not to say that you never think that you're gonna go there, but it's like, you might go there for like a, vacation with your family or solo trip, but it's like, no, we're actually going there to like play music and be in the same culture that we occupy here at home, which is amazing. You know, I'm pretty sure I can speak for all of us when we say going to Germany is always amazing. Like the fans, the crowds there, it's like not to shit on people back at home, but they might need to step their game up a little bit because they got it down locked over there. Scandinavia, there's a ton of places, man, and there's
Yeah.
still places that we haven't had a chance to go yet. Like we haven't had a chance to go to Mexico or South America or places on the Americas that are a little closer to us, but we still got plenty in the tank left to try to get back over to a few more of these.
Yeah, that's cool. It had to be an incredible experience just going to Australia.
It was
Oh,
the flight. The flight was terrible. The flights were awful, but in hindsight, I was actually thinking about this because we head back to Europe, I think in like less than a month. And I was looking,
Three
I was like, I
weeks.
don't want to sit. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to sit on another long flight. So I was like, okay, how long is the flight from point A to point B? I was like, it's 7 hours, 7.5 hours. I was like, that's terrible, but that's literally half the time we were on a flight from LA to, I think it was Sydney. So I'm like, that's fine. That like traveling that long has made traveling for everything else for me now a breeze. Nothing feels long anymore.
That's a nap. That's a nap in two movies. Easy.
Exactly. Easy.
Yeah, I would take my Switch and throw in Civilization. You can lose 8 hours into that pretty quick. So yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I understand that. I get stir crazy sitting for that long. I can imagine being on a plane that long is it's a lot.
Yeah, and like what
Um,
we too, like to talk about the Australia stuff. Australia was awesome. You know, like it was all of us have wanted to go check it out at some point. And the fact that we got to go over and play music, you know, and play our own music was a really, really cool opportunity. Got to see a ton of kangaroos, couple of emus here and there. But yeah, it was a really good time. It was nice to get away from the North American winter as well and get to the Australian like spring, summertime.
yeah, that had to be nice. So I guess the last question. I guess we might as well finish with talking about Sinner. I mean, it's your most popular song on it has the most views on Spotify, and talk a little bit about that, and then kind of talk a little bit about what you guys got going on the rest of this year. And
Hmm.
Well, well, um, I mean, Sinner, I love telling this story just from my perspective because, you know, I am the vocalist and sometimes I take naps. So
Sometimes.
when yeah, okay, a lot of the time. But yeah, we went to write this song during COVID. It was me, Mike, and Damon. Unfortunately, Ryan couldn't. I don't think Ryan could even get into the country if he wanted. So yeah, we just went down to our buddy Evans, and we just like went in there, and he was like, "What kind of song do you guys want to write?" And Damon and him were trying to come up with something, coming up with ideas, and I was like, man, I'm getting really sleepy and stuff, you know, like wake me, you know, basically like I'll wake up when everything's done as a joke, of course. But yeah, stuff started going, and I remember I kind of like sat there and I was like, man, I don't know what's going on with this thing right now. Like what are we writing? This is not what we're used to. So I ended up passing out. I woke up and I remember listening to something, and Mike is just like chilling on the couch. Damon and Evan are like working on a part, and Mike just like looks back at me, and I was like, and he just goes, "Have no idea, have no idea." And Evan plays the song. He's like, you know, or at least plays like some parts and stuff. He's like, "What do you think?" And I was like, it sounds cool." He's like, just trust me, okay?" And we're like, "Okay, we'll trust you. We'll trust you." And just like once we started writing the melodies, once we started writing, like kind of mapping out the song, it's one of those things where we're like, man, this is such a huge risk for a band like us because we haven't like came out with anything since 2019 at the time. Was this 2020 or 2021? 2021, right?
One. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just one of those things where we just kept trucking along, and I remember after like Damon laid down like the first parts of the song, I was just like, I mean, we might have something really cool here, but it was still one of those like it was not something that was even on our radar to be a first single. Like no, that was we were just like this might be too big of a risk. But then we thought about it more and more, and just like, I mean, look at it. And I mean, I'll let the other two basically like build on that. But that it was like such a cool feeling to have such a big risk payoff.
Yeah. And like, so for me being the one that wasn't in the room there, I remember being at home and I got the demo sent to me after it was done. And I had no idea what the writing process was at the time. I was busy doing whatever. And I listened to it. And right before this track, the only other track I'd gotten since being in this band was a song that we all have called Hypocrite. And if you know anything about that song, it is a pretty heavy song. Like from
Mhm.
the go, you're going. So I'm like, okay, sweet. This is the direction of like this band I'm now joining in, which is awesome. Hell yeah. And then I remember hitting Sinner and hitting play. And I remember hearing the first like 40 seconds of it being like, I think he sent me the wrong file. Because I was like, it's good. This is cool. It's cool. But like, is this like, I'm so confused. So then I gave it a listen. Like I listened through it the whole way. I was like, no, that's definitely Tyler's voice. That's Damon. No, this is the song. I was like, this is so good, but like it's so different, right? And like this is where I think, like Tyler was saying, when the song came together, we had no idea what we were gonna do with it because it was such a risk. And we're like, everyone's thoughts, we were pretty for it or like we were against the idea of having it for our lead single. And I think that's kind of where we were like, maybe we should do it because it was this point of like you had to kind of pick and choose. You were like, you either really resonated with it for reasons where you're like, oh, I love this pop feel, these like pop samples and everything, or you're on the other side where you're like, where are the screams? Where is the breakdown? Where is any of this? So it was nice to not to divide the fans per se, but like to give a taste of something completely different. To be like, hey, we're not just this metalcore band, like we're not just this before What Defines You came out, like on Heart Sounds and Salvation, like there's some complicated stuff on there. Like we're not playing in like 7/8 time. Like we can do that stuff, but that's not all we're gonna do at this point. So it was a good, almost like a reset point for us as a group.
Yeah. And probably the last thing that I would probably say about it, you know, it was a risk. It was a good leap of faith, but it was one I think it was just it's lightning in a bottle. It was needed at the time. Um, for me, I remember specifically I had taken a trip out to New York City during that time, like a little bit before. I want to say it was probably maybe a couple of weeks prior, and brought some demos with me. I was hanging out with a friend of mine, hanging out with my sister, and showing them some stuff. And I just remember like because they're not yes people, which is great. And like I showed them a handful of things, and they're like, nope, this ain't it. And I'm like, dang, really? And we just kind of had a heart to heart. We rode around the city, like being able to see like the Brooklyn Bridge, seeing downtown Manhattan, Times Square completely empty, just walking around talking about music and life and where things are going. And it's like everything's kind of uncertain, but at the same time, there's a peace and a calm with that. And that's kind of what I feel like that song kind of represents in a way where it's like, hey man, we don't have anything else to lose. And at the end of it, you know, we kind of had to break out of our own shells of being like what people expect from us, or a heavy band is only supposed to do this, or this band's only supposed to do that. And it's like, no, we could do whatever the hell we want as long as it sounds good and feels good. Because that was kind of the cool thing is, we had to sit on that song for probably about a year before we could release it. And anytime that we would show it to people, they'd be like, "You guys are insane if you don't put that out. Like, what is this? This, like the amount of people that were like, this is the literal best thing that you've ever done. Disregard anything else." And it's like, oh, okay. Well, if you feel that strongly about it, because we also had some stuff where it was the other way, where like I had people that were like, "Where's the, typical? Where's the breakdowns? Where's this? Blah blah blah. Blah. This is trash." And I'm like, it finally made us realize like with music to a degree it's like you need to force people to have an opinion. Like you can't just be like, oh, this is cool, and then just leave it to the side. It's like, no, if people love it, they're going to talk about it. If people hate it, they're still going to talk about it, and they're probably going to talk about it even more because people are negative as shit all the time.
I'd
And
rather have someone hate our music than someone have no opinion on it.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess the last thing, let's talk about the kickoff show for Rock Lansing. So, you guys are the headliners, and we have Let It Rot, Accuser of the Brethren, Black No Graffiti on the bill too. I don't think I missed anybody. Um, but yeah, I'm excited about the show. It's gonna be a little heavy. but I think it's going to be a killer show. What's your guys? How do you guys feel about it?
Hometown shows are always fun, man. And for us, this is a nice little beat. It's kind of similar to how it worked out last year, where like we had just got like Rock Lansing was the last technical day of our tour. We had got off enough to tour with Imminence. We'll be coming home from Europe, and a week later, playing Rock Lansing. So it's like you kind of get to come off the road, get a little bit of a break, and then this is kind of like the finale for that, and before we transition into the next little bit of touring that we're gonna do. So we're always excited to, see friends, hang out. This will be our second time playing Grey Wall, so, having gone to more shows there, and they're constantly updating the venue and making everything run as seamlessly as possible. You know, it's gonna be another cool chapter in the book, and I think I can speak for all of us and say that we're super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited the Gray Wall is in Lansing because the loft had some stuff but not a ton, and it's just great that we have a real concert venue. And I'm excited about doing more shows there and in the future too. So but yeah, it's cool. I think they're doing a good job, and they know what they're doing, and I'm excited about the show. I think it's going to be a perfect way to kick off Rock Lansing and have 2 days of some fun music. So,
Absolutely.
so, but I just want to thank you guys for coming on, and I appreciate your guys' time and insights and all that, and just say thank you.
Hey, appreciate you for having us, man. Like I said, we're gonna have ourselves a fun time, and you know, keep this thing rolling for many years to come, man. You're doing a killer job.